Call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's meeting. I thank the police force for being here. Busy. Thank you anyways. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 2, approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion by John, second by Mary Jo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on to item number 3, to approve the consent calendar, which is the minutes of our April 9th meeting, as well as the payment of bills.
So moved.
Motion by John, second by Doug. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Brings us to our 4th item, which is the introduction of Wadena County Commissioner C.J. Hall.
An administrator.
Administrator, not commissioner.
Oh, administrator. You know, I read that
Yeah,
and I kept thinking commissioner.
appointed, not elected, so, like you. So, thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me here tonight. As I said, I'm CJ Hall. I'm the new Wadena County Administrator, and as President Reagan famously said, I'm the government and I'm here to help. So, but I want to give you a little background on myself, first off, and then kind of highlight a couple things that the county is working on, and then answer any questions or take any feedback from you. You know, my intention is to get out to city and township meetings here and there throughout the year, so I stay abreast of what's going on. Gerald, a few weeks ago, gave me a tour of the city, and I got to see some things that I didn't even know were here in Staples. So that was really neat to see. So, you know, it was fun to get a glimpse of what you're doing here. You're doing some really good things. Saw some of the new housing developments, and saw some of the activities that are going on with the college here. Didn't know the sandbox existed until Gerald showed that to me. But my background is I've been in Wadena County about 2 months now, but previously came from Mahnomen County. I was the county administrator up there for about 3 years. And then prior to that, I was a city administrator down in southern Minnesota, originally from the Pelican Rapids area. So we took a 3-year sabbatical down in southern Minnesota. But I was a school finance director for 2 years for the Pelican Rapids School District. So I have kind of a wide breadth of experience in government. I was also elected official for 10 years. I was on 2 different city councils over 10 years in Hawley and Pelican Rapids. So I sat in your chair. And you know, got to hear from the citizens from that side of the desk. So I think that actually serves me well in my current role and my previous roles as appointed officials there. So I was also a business owner for 13 years. So I ran my own businesses. I had 8 franchise restaurants that I ran. So I have that perspective, and you know, having had employees of my own and owning a business and having to meet payroll, you know, is a good experience for then working in government. And then prior to that, I worked in operating rooms for 12 years in healthcare. So I worked in surgical suites across northern South Dakota. So, but as far as what's going on in Wadena County, we have some things that we've sort of jumped into as I've gotten my feet wet there. Certainly there's a need for some capital planning. So we're doing that with fleet stuff, with facilities, with equipment. So, you know, we need to do some capital planning. So the county board will be having meetings about that, and, you know, setting the future, you know, where we can set aside and plan for capital needs of the county. We're working on some building projects. There's the Sabika Highway facility. There's the new Friendly Rider facility, which is funded with a MnDOT transportation grant. We have quite a few projects in and around the courthouse. Just finished a new conference meeting room. We actually have a pretty small courthouse, so that is desperately needed space. We just finished a $2 million HVAC upgrade to the courthouse that was desperately needed. You know, we got some things going on, new furniture for the jail. We have an elevator that we have to fix, which are not cheap to do. And then we have our Wensman building, which houses a bunch of different stuff in there, including county records, that building needs some attention. So county board will be working on some planning around building projects, currently finishing some up, and then also off into the future as well. So we're starting a project working on ditches. We haven't worked on ditches in the county here in quite a while. We had a joint meeting with Otter Tail County a couple weeks ago, and we're probably going to work with them on some ditches that are on our western border there to start that process of reworking those ditches and getting ditch agreements and redeterminations in place. So that'll be a longer term project, but one that we need to really jump on there. So planning and zoning is working on a possible Highway 10 and 71 commercial rezoning to encourage commercial businesses along the corridors of the highways within Wadena County. So, that is being looked at by planning and zoning there. So we've got some internal policy work that we're working on. And this year we have negotiations. We have 5 groups and 3 unions that we'll be working with this year to get union agreements in place there. So a couple new things. Friendly Rider just got 2 new buses, brand new buses for them. There's 3 new propane buses that we have a grant in for that looks like we'll get. Those will be propane, and the grant includes not only the propane buses, but also the infrastructure to service the propane for those. So much lower cost to operate those type of buses. And they have, really good ROI. They do last quite a long time. So that'll be neat. We'll have, essentially 5 new buses in the fleet of Friendly Rider there. So good news to report, the county housing abatement program has been really popular. We've got almost a dozen abatements in-house that the county has approved. So that seems to have gotten some legs under it. So abating those taxes for housing projects is really a good thing. And we've seen people apply from all over the county on that. So we're hoping that will keep going and get some more steam, even more behind it. It also points out the need, and we're talking about this, of doing the same thing for commercial properties, to have a commercial abatement program to be a companion program to the housing program to encourage business as well. So we've got a lot of work to do in the county. I want to work on economic development stuff. That's one thing as a previous business owner I'm passionate about, so I want to work on economic development. So more than anything, I'm here to say that, we're here as the county to help you. I want to be a resource to you. Our county board wants to be a resource to you. And, anything that we can do to help you in Wadena County, we'll do that. So I did bring some business cards. I'll leave them with Gerald there. You can grab those, but, contact me anytime. We'll certainly do all we can to help out our partner communities here in Wadena County. So, but I guess with that, I'll take any questions or comments or anything that you have. Wadena County.
I was wondering, you mentioned commercial zoning, commercial designation versus residential, you were saying, along 10 and 71?
Yes, what the planning and zoning is looking at, there was actually a committee that was formed, citizen advisory committee essentially, and they're coming up with some ideas to work and enhance our zoning, and one of their ideas was to encourage more commercial development along the highway corridors. And so planning and zoning has been taking their advice and then looking at that. Eventually that'll roll up to the county board. You have to make it work within the parameters of the comprehensive plan and things like that. But really, I think the idea is for municipalities to encourage development in and around those municipalities. So to allow easier commercial development in those highway corridors that sort of abut the cities or whatever. So nothing official yet, but the planning and zoning is working on that. And I think it could be a good thing, to encourage, businesses along the highway corridors for sure, so.
And that housing abatement program, is that primarily for developers or is that individuals or how?
Can be both actually. So You know, obviously the property owner would, you know, apply for that, but, you know, as people do projects and have new homes, that, you know, the abatement can be a nice tool for them to take advantage of, so.
That's a fairly recent program, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was implemented, if I remember correctly, it was before my time, but at the end of last year. So really over the winter, there wasn't much activity with it. But now as spring has rolled forward and people are getting active and contractors are out there working, we've seen quite a few applications. So it's nice to see that people realize it's there and are taking advantage of it, so.
You probably don't know off the top of your head how many projects have taken, how many signed up for that, or?
It's a little bit less than a dozen. I'd have to count exactly. We just had a couple other ones. But, you know, really within, you know, here it is April, we've already had quite a few that have rolled in. So that's kind of neat to see. So, you know, we do want to work on housing. You guys have done a great job with housing, but countywide, we want to work on housing. The end of last year, counties across the state, including Wadena County, had gotten, you know, housing aid, which will also get some this year, and then in future years as well. And so, you know, we want to put that aid to good use. So we're looking at some options, including establishing a housing trust fund, you know, and working with, you know, other communities out there to focus on housing. So obviously housing is tax base, housing is population, housing is economic activity. So it's stuff that we really want to work on. So, you know, it's a long-term goal, but one worth pursuing for sure.
CJ, refresh my memory on the abatement. If you're a developer building spec houses and you apply for the tax abatement, does that then transfer to the new owners?
I'd have to look exactly on that. So I know it's of course toward to the property ownership. So depends, I would suppose, on if the developer owned the property or not, as they did that. So I can get back to you exactly on that.
I can't remember. I think we looked at that once, but it's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Wadena County.
Right. But I can get you the exact stuff on that, but, you know, essentially it's tied to the property owner.
Thanks.
Great, I appreciate it.
Nice to meet
Anything
you.
we can do to help, certainly give a shout. We're interested and we're on the same team, so appreciate that. I'll leave some cards here.
Move on to the next item of business, which is to consider the approval of gambling permit for the Knights of Columbus to conduct a raffle on August 18th, 2024 at Sacred Heart Area School.
I'll make a motion for that approval.
We have a motion by John and a second by Doug to approve the gambling permit. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carried. That brings us to item number 6, which is to discuss the City of Staples City Council invocation policy.
So in your packet is you know, basically the same draft that I handed out a couple of weeks ago with one modification to it at the top of page 2, changing city limits of Staples to 56479 zip code as far as where the you know, the churches or religious organizations can be based from. Just thinking of Church of Christ and Thomastown Church, which are, you know, Staples churches, but outside the corporate limits. I'm not assuming everybody's had an opportunity to look at this, but basically what the way this would be implemented is utilizing the listing of area churches out of the Staples world. We would send an invitation out to those Staples-based churches, along with the letter which is spelled out in this policy, basically inviting them to sign up for up to 3 different dates to come in. You know, I think the policy itself is laid out fairly clearly. You know, they're coming to talk to the council members, not preaching to the general public or staff or, anybody else. Just praying for guidance and, that type of thing. And, well, we would send that out. We would develop a calendar, on a typical year that would go out in the fall. The council would approve the schedule in January at the beginning of the year when we do all of the other committee assignments and that type of thing. If there's dates that are not taken, the mayor can either do a moment of silence, skip it all together. If there's people that the council member would like to invite to do it, we can bring that forward to the council as well. So I think we've got 9, what I would call Staples-based churches, 3, maximum of 3 per, that's 27. Typically, we only have 24 meetings a year, but pretty close. Maybe not everybody will do it or want to do it.
Right. So,
As I indicated before, this is, I did not invent this. This comes from City of Hutchinson that put this policy together, and they did a lot of work on it over a number of years.
so this is purely discussion item tonight.
So we're not
Yeah.
gonna act on it, just discuss it? We're not gonna act on it, we're just gonna discuss it?
Well, we haven't really had a chance to have discussion on it at the previous meeting. Just kind of handed it out, so.
So if there's no opposition or discussion, we could just put this as an action item on the next
Actually,
council.
until the next meeting, yeah.
So I have a question. If someone chooses not to be part of prayer that's on the council, would they, because it's gonna already be called to order, they just,
If you look in the policy, I don't think that you can leave. Or what does it say exactly? There is a statement in here about,
after the call to order of all regular meetings, the city council, describe what they do after that.
yeah, no, it speaks about, it talks about leaving.
It's under section 5, policy, item A, no member of the city council, employee of the city, any city consultant, or any other person in attendance at the meeting shall be required to participate in any invocation that is offered.
It says something about, not be encouraged to leave. Where does it say that at?
It's that last sentence in that same paragraph. It is also not appropriate to suggest that a council member or anyone in attendance at the meeting who is uncomfortable with the invocation or who wishes not to participate should leave during that portion of the meeting. So it shouldn't be these deals where you don't want to you get out of here and come back in 3 minutes.
We can't ask them to leave. Right, we can't ask them to leave, but that's saying that if she wanted to get up and leave, she could. If Councilmember Goff wanted to get up and leave before it started, she could do that. Is that what you're asking?
Well, and I'm just saying, not me personally, but, this is gonna be
But,
forever. Who knows
Right.
who the next ones are gonna be?
20 years from now.
Right, so we
Right.
need to, kind of set something there. If
Well,
they
it
choose
does.
not to participate,
yeah, I mean, I think that spells it out well enough, but
Yeah, I think if a person wanted to excuse themselves and then come back in after
Yeah.
the invocation, there'd be no
Sure.
issue with that. There's no action taking place. There's no,
You'd hate for somebody a decade from now not run for council because they were forced to sit through something like that, So I think we're all adult enough here where we can accept if somebody wanted to step out.
well, I think we need to allow that. I remember the wording. I must have misinterpreted that word. Yeah.
so that's, through there, I guess, in his thoughts,
Okay.
they have that chance.
Yep. Any other discussion? If not, then we will move it, we'll put it on the next agenda for action. All right, let's move on to item number 7. Consider approving resolution 1947, accepting bid for 2nd Street Northeast Street and Utility Improvement Project.
So a copy of the resolution is in your packet. Bids were opened last week. Teakley Underground was the apparent low bidder. Bolton Mink has gone through all of that and reviewed the bids and bid bond and all that good stuff. So basically what this resolution does is awards that project to Keekly Underground and authorizes the mayor and city administrator to execute the contracts with that project forward. So, and that was, I think, about 50,000 below engineer's estimate. So kind of nice for a change.
That's first.
If anybody has any questions on that, otherwise we would need a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Roy and a second by John to approve resolution 1947, accepting the bid of 2nd Street Northeast Street Utility Improvement Project. Is there any discussion? I think it's nice that, it's also nice that Bolton and Mink have worked with this company as well and recommend them, so that makes it even easier, so. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried. That brings us to the next item, which is item number 8. And I'm going to read a proclamation. National Day of Prayer, which is on May 2nd. Next week. City of Staples proclamation, whereas prayer has been part of the American heritage since the First Continental Congress in 1975, and whereas a public law established by the United States Congress in 1952 by a joint resolution and amended by Congress by Public Law 100-307, 1988, affirmed it is essential to pray as a nation. It directed the United States President to set aside and proclaim the first Thursday of May annually as a National Day of Prayer. Whereas the National Day of Prayer Task Force has developed a 2024 theme to read, Lift Up the Word, Light Up the World, based on 2 Samuel 22, verse 29 through 31. Whereas May 2nd, 2024 has been set up for the annual National Day of Prayer for the nation, to express faith and exercise freedom to pray in public gatherings throughout our state and nation. Now, therefore, I, Ron Murray, Mayor of Staples, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim Thursday, May 2nd, 2024 as Day of Prayer and commend this observance to our citizens. In the city of Staples, a witness whereof I set my hand and cause the great seal of the city of Staples to be affixed this 23rd day of April, 2024. I think our nation and our world are in need of it, so. Move on to committee reports, and we'll do planning and zoning.
Planning and Zoning Commission met on Monday, April 15th. Primarily one item on there, and that was to hold a public hearing on the proposed rezoning that we've talked about here at the council from R3, which is multifamily residential, to R1, single-family residential, for the bulk of Valley View. There's still the duplex lots along the west side that would be zoned R3. Had a couple of people from the neighborhood up there that supported what we were proposing to do on that. And we Public hearing closed shortly after it started, and ultimately the recommendation to rezone lots 1 through 28, Block 1 and Outlot A was made, seconded, and passed to recommend that to the city council. So as part of a zoning amendment, the council is required to do zoning amendments by ordinance. So we would be giving tonight the first reading of ordinance 546, which is in your packet, and do a second reading and adoption at the first meeting in May. Also talk a little bit about the final plat, which will be ready by our next council meeting, and there is not a public hearing required as part of that, so we will not be having a public hearing, but we'll talk about it in planning and zoning and then kick that to the council for action after. Also, just to inform the commission about the possible land sale to Charter Communications over on Wright Avenue that we talked about at the council, and I think that was about it for the meeting. So
We do need to
action on first reading of the ordinance.
entertain a motion on ordinance 546, the meeting of.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Roy and a second by Doug. On the first reading of ordinance 546, is there any more discussion, or any discussion, I should say? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries. All right, that brings us to item number 10, which is the open forum. Is there anyone here that has anything that they would like to bring forward on open forum?
I have one little thing. I spoke to Missouri River Energy today. We have our quarterly meeting. They tasked me with asking everybody if they had any concerns regarding power. We are kind of beating a dead horse at this point, kind of, anticipating the alternative energy that we will be switching to as of 2040. I think they're looking for temporary distraction a little bit, so they are reaching out to the communities, asking if anyone has any areas of concern that they would like brought up during our May 8th meeting. So if anybody comes up with anything between now and then, I'm happy to talk about it at this meeting with them. But they are looking for suggestions for, if you have any solar questions, any energy related topic at all, reach out to me. Even the people in the surrounding area, Mark, if you're able to put that in the newspaper somehow and let everybody know that they're welcome to reach out to me, and I will bring it to the meeting on May 8th in Sioux Falls.
It could be related to, in general, or it could be related to the specific plan to go.
And anything in general, it does not have to be specific to that. We do have some rate hikes coming up here. I'm not at liberty to talk about them because they are not set in stone. If I were to tell you what they were, it would be completely wrong. So I'm not even gonna go down that path. It sounds like we have someone coming to talk to us anyways, coming up short with that. We'll let the professionals talk about that at length when the time comes. I just am not informed enough to answer that right now.
Okay, hearing no one else, we'll move on to city administrator's report.
Just a few updates. Playground equipment for Wilson will be installed June 27th, 28th. We actually have the equipment. That's first availability of the contractors to come and do it. Busker will be here tomorrow, did you say? Addressing the tree grates in the downtown area. Dower Lake cleanup is scheduled to take place this Friday. So weather permitting, we'll have our crews out there working at Dower on Friday. The Second Avenue Water Main project down by the motel and the old Napa building is basically done. The water main's in. There's some landscaping and driveway aprons to put back in. But I believe water is flowing. Just want to let the council know, and at the May meeting, I will bring Lucas Wakefield, who has accepted the position of Economic Development Director. Will be here. I think he's going to be in town tomorrow and Thursday, just doing all the new hire stuff and take him around, make introductions as I can. And lastly, just want to congratulate Rick Utek, Todd County Development Corp. Executive Director, on his retirement. And Rick's done a lot of good work in Todd County. Ron and I went down to the Development Corporation meeting. Was that last week before last? 2 weeks ago? When was that, Mark? I think 2 weeks ago. But Mark did have an article in the paper talking about Rick's retirement, and then also just wanted to bring your attention to the article on the program for that evening was Ben Winchester from University of Minnesota Extension. And I think Mark's article kind of captured the gist of that. But Ben does have a lot of YouTube videos that are out there with copies of his presentation, but just a real positive rural community type of message. So encourage you to go search on YouTube, and there's a whole bunch of them, but lots of really good stuff, and it's all backed up by data. So
I encourage a lot of people to try and read the paper, read that article specifically.
On a similar note, I want to congratulate Mark on being on Garage Logic. That was awesome. I don't know if anybody listens to Garage Logic, but it's a worldwide broadcast, and I about tipped over when I saw that was the topic for the day, and it was a great interview.
Yep, that was in the paper too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just wrote a little column about it.
Oh, was it? Okay.
You were on it, on the program?
Yeah, apparently they read, like several months later, they read our pre-Thanksgiving story about the moose.
Oh,
That kind of through Staples. And
sure.
He read the entire story word for word. He thought it was a great story, so he called me and talked about it.
Ah,
They've
cool.
brought it up several times since you were on there.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's famous.
Yeah, I didn't know it was such a big podcast. I said, sure, I'll talk to you guys. I heard of it, but.
Yeah, I listened. That's since high school. It's from 25 years I've been listening to that.
Oh, wow, okay.
I believe they are at the moment. As I understand, they're planning to open up again in May.
Move that we adjourn.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Can't even sign.